There are women who will make you feel alive. And then there are women who will leave you questioning your own worth. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you kept ignoring the signs that were screaming the truth. The truth is, attraction can blind you, charm can mislead you, and emotional chemistry can hide the biggest red flags of all. But the moment you learn to see beyond beauty and listen to behavior, everything changes. Because not every woman who looks like love acts like love. The emotionally unavailable woman is one of the most confusing and intoxicating types of people you'll ever encounter in your life. She carries a calm mystery that draws you in like a magnet, a stillness that feels soothing at first, but later becomes a storm you can't escape. At the beginning, she seems different from everyone else, grounded, composed, self-contained. You find yourself admiring the way she doesn't overshare, the way she holds her emotions with such grace, the way her silence feels like power. But slowly you realize that what you mistook for strength was actually a shield. Every time you try to get closer, there's a wall you can't break through. You'll share your thoughts, your emotions, your heart, and in return, you'll get fragments, moments, half-truths that never go deep enough to make you feel safe. Her presence is alluring, but her distance keeps you starving for connection, always craving more than she's willing to give. She will never completely let you in, and yet she'll never fully walk away either. She'll stay just close enough to keep you hoping, and just far enough to keep you uncertain. You'll think you're building something real, but in reality, you're building illusions, castles made of assumptions held together by your effort alone. When you try to talk about emotions, she changes the subject, laughs it off, or becomes cold and distant. When you express your needs, she'll say she doesn't know what she feels or isn't ready for something serious. And in your attempt to understand her, you'll start minimizing your own needs, pretending you're fine with less, convincing yourself that patience will melt her walls someday. But the truth is, her heart isn't locked because of you. It's been closed long before you arrived. Behind that emotional detachment often lies a deep wound, maybe betrayal, abandonment, or the kind of pain that made her believe closeness equals danger. To protect herself, she's learned to disconnect before she can be disappointed. She's mastered the art of appearing in control while keeping her emotions on mute. You'll notice that she's great at talking about logic but uncomfortable with vulnerability. She'll analyze everything except her own heart, and even when she seems to care, it's measured, restrained, as if she's afraid of giving too much and losing herself in the process. You'll see flashes of affection, rare moments where she lets her guard slip, and those moments will keep you hooked because they give you hope that she's capable of love, that maybe if you just love her harder, she'll finally open up. But loving an emotionally unavailable woman is like holding water in your hands. No matter how tightly you try to keep it, it slips through your fingers. You can't fix what she refuses to face. You can't heal someone who's addicted to distance. The longer you stay, the more you'll start doubting your own worth, mistaking her silence for your failure. You'll start wondering what you did wrong when in reality it was never about you. It was about her fear of feeling, her need to stay in control, her belief that love means vulnerability, and vulnerability means pain. She's not heartless. She's guarded. She doesn't lack emotion. She fears its intensity. And though you'll try to reach her with the tenderness, her walls weren't built for breaking. They were built for survival. The validation seeker is the kind of woman who can light up an entire room the moment she walks in. Her charm is magnetic, her energy intoxicating, and her presence impossible to ignore. She knows how to dress, how to speak, how to move in a way that draws attention effortlessly. At first, you'll be captivated by her confidence, the way she carries herself, the way her laughter fills the air, the way everyone seems to orbit around her. But what looks like confidence from afar is often something else entirely. It's not strength, it's survival. She's mastered the art of being adored because deep down she fears what it feels like to be unseen. Every compliment, every like, every glance acts like a tiny drop of validation, feeding a hunger that never seems to be satisfied. You'll think she's full of self-love, but what she truly craves is approval, and her worth rises and falls with the attention she receives from others. At first, you might feel special because she chooses to focus that attention on you. Her messages are constant, her compliments sweet, her excitement genuine, or so it seems. You'll feel like you found someone who truly sees you, who makes you feel alive again. But as time passes, you begin to notice a pattern. Her joy depends on how much she's admired. If you don't compliment her enough, she becomes distant. If you don't react the way she wants, she becomes cold. You'll notice that her happiness is fragile, tied not to the depth of your bond, but to the validation you provide. And when that validation starts to fade, when the attention from you becomes familiar instead of thrilling, she starts seeking it elsewhere. Maybe through her appearance, her social media, or even through subtle flirtations that make her feel desired again. It's not about betrayal, it's about addiction. She's addicted to being wanted because it makes her forget the emptiness she carries inside. The manipulative woman doesn't reveal her true nature in the beginning. She appears attentive, calming, and emotionally invested, the kind of woman who seems to understand you better than anyone else ever did. She listens closely, remembers the little things you say, and mirrors your emotions in a way that makes you feel deeply connected. But what you don't realize is that she's not connecting. She's studying. She observes your reactions, your weaknesses, your triggers, and slowly learns how to use them to her advantage. Her charm feels warm. Her concern feels genuine. But underneath that kindness lies a quiet calculation. She knows when to praise you, to keep you close, and when to withdraw affection to make you chase her again. At first, it feels like love, deep, intense, consuming. But soon it starts to feel like a game where only she knows the rules and you're always losing without understanding why. She will test your boundaries in subtle ways. A small guilt trip here, a silent treatment there, and every time you give in, she learns exactly how to control you. When you try to express how you feel, she'll twist your words until you start questioning your own memory. If you confront her about something she's done, she'll cry, deflect, or play the victim, turning the entire situation around until you're the one apologizing. She's a master at emotional confusion, using your empathy against you, making you feel like you're too sensitive or overreacting. You'll start walking on eggshells, constantly adjusting your tone and your behavior just to keep the peace. She won't raise her voice. She'll raise your guilt, and little by little, you'll start to lose your sense of self, bending so much to keep her happy that you forget what happiness even feels like. The manipulative woman thrives on control disguised as care. She'll tell you she only worries about you, that she wants what's best for you. And yet every decision somehow ends up revolving around her comfort. She uses emotional closeness as leverage, rewarding you with affection when you comply and punishing you with distance when you don't. You'll find yourself chasing her approval, desperate to get back to the version of her who once made you feel so loved. But that version was never real. It was the mask she wore to make you trust her. Once she knows she has your loyalty, she begins to shift the power dynamic, making you dependent on her validation, her moods, her reactions. You'll start doubting your instincts, questioning your own truth, and mistaking manipulation for love simply because it's wrapped in tenderness. What makes her so dangerous is her unpredictability. One moment she'll be affectionate and nurturing. The next she'll pull away without warning. You'll spend days trying to figure out what changed, apologizing for things you didn't do, trying to fix emotions that aren't even yours to fix. Her silence will become punishment, her approval, your reward. She feeds on your confusion because it keeps you bound to her emotionally, always seeking closure that never comes. And though she'll often talk about love, trust, and loyalty, her actions will never match her words. You'll notice that every time there's conflict, somehow you end up being the one at fault. Every time you try to leave, she'll find a way to pull you back through guilt, through charm, through memories of the version of her that never truly existed. You'll think you're fighting for love, but in reality, you're trapped in her design. A cycle of control that feels like passion, but is really just power disguised as affection. The validation seeker often grew up in environments where love was conditional, where approval had to be earned, where being good enough was never simply about being herself. Over time, she learned that her value lies in how others respond to her. So she became the girl who performs, who pleases, who adapts to every space she walks into just to be liked. You'll notice how quickly she changes depending on who she's around. The way she mirrors, opinions, shifts her tone and molds herself into whatever version gets the most praise. She doesn't even realize she's doing it anymore. It's become her identity. And though she seems full of light, there's a constant quiet panic behind her smile. A fear that the moment people stop admiring her, they'll stop loving her too. Being with her feels like running on a treadmill that never stops. You'll keep trying to make her feel secure, keep trying to reassure her that she's enough, keep pouring words into her heart, hoping they'll fill the void. But nothing ever seems to be enough. The more validation you give, the more she needs. Her emotional world is built on mirrors, fragile reflections of how others see her. And the moment those mirrors crack, she falls apart. You'll find yourself drained, not because you don't love her, but because love alone can't compete with her need for validation. You'll start to realize that she's not really looking for a partner. She's looking for an audience. And no matter how deeply you care, you'll always feel like you're clapping for someone who doesn't know when to stop performing. The victim-minded woman is the one who carries pain like a story she can't stop telling. A story where she is always the one who suffers, always the one who is wronged, always the one who never gets what she deserves. When you first meet her, you'll feel sympathy, even admiration. She seems soft, sensitive, and misunderstood. The kind of woman who has been through too much and just needs someone to finally treat her right. You'll feel drawn to protect her, to heal her, to be the one who shows her that not everyone will hurt her. She knows exactly how to pull on your empathy because she's mastered the art of appearing fragile in a way that makes you feel like a savior. But what you don't realize at first is that her pain isn't just a chapter of her life, it's her entire identity. She's built her emotional world around the idea that she is the one who always suffers. And the moment you try to change that narrative, she starts to see you as part of the problem rather than the solution. You'll notice that every conversation somehow circles back to how unfair life has been to her. Every failed relationship was because the other person didn't understand her. Every friendship ended because people were jealous or cruel. Every situation gone wrong becomes another example of how she's always the victim. She doesn't take accountability. She takes pity. When something goes wrong between you, she won't reflect or apologize. Instead, she'll find a way to make you feel guilty for her pain. She'll cry, not to connect, but to control, using tears as a weapon to silence you. The moment you express how you feel, she'll twist it into how you're hurting her, how you don't appreciate what she's been through, how you're just like everyone else who abandoned her. And because you care, you'll start apologizing for emotions that weren't even yours to own. You'll start walking carefully around her wounds, making sure you never say anything that could trigger another wave of sadness. You'll start fixing things that aren't broken just to avoid conflict. The victim-minded woman doesn't want healing. She wants sympathy. Healing would mean letting go of the control that comes from being pied. As long as she's the victim, she holds emotional power. People will comfort her, forgive her, excuse her, and she knows that. That's why she doesn't change. Her drama gives her identity, her sadness gives her attention, and her pain gives her validation. You'll find yourself constantly reassuring her, constantly proving that you're not the enemy. But no matter how much love you give, it will never feel enough because she isn't looking for peace. She's looking for someone to join her in her pain. She thrives in emotional chaos because that's where she feels most significant. Without it, she feels invisible. Over time, you'll realize that you're not in a relationship. You're in a rescue mission that never ends. You'll spend your energy trying to fix her problems, heal her past, and calm her storms, only to realize that every solution you offer creates a new crisis. When life is calm, she feels restless. When there's tension, she feels alive. You'll notice how she subtly provokes emotional reactions just to remind herself that she still matters, that someone still cares enough to fight for her. And when you finally reach your breaking point, when you pull back to protect your own sanity, she'll turn that into another wound, another story about how she was once again abandoned, once again unloved, once again the victim in another painful chapter of her life. She doesn't realize that she keeps recreating her suffering because it's the only place she knows how to exist. The competitive partner is the kind of woman who doesn't just want love, she wants to win. She walks into a relationship with the same mindset she carries into every part of her life to prove herself to be the best, to never be outshined. At first, this energy can feel inspiring. You admire her ambition, her drive, the way she holds herself with unshakable confidence. She seems like a woman who knows what she wants and refuses to settle for less. But soon you begin to sense a subtle shift that the relationship isn't about building together. It's about keeping score. Every gesture, every conversation, every moment turns into an unspoken competition. If you achieve something, she'll either try to outdo it or downplay it. If you share an idea, she'll counter with a better one. If you receive admiration, she'll find a way to redirect the spotlight back to herself. What begins as mutual respect slowly transforms into an emotional tug-of-war where love feels more like rivalry than connection. You'll start noticing that even in the smallest things, she has to win. Arguments aren't resolved through understanding but through dominance. She'll use logic not to connect but to conquer. She'll interrupt, outtalk, and overpower your words until you start questioning your own perspective. When you express vulnerability instead of compassion, she gives you correction. When you celebrate something, she'll remind you of something she did that was greater. Her validation often comes through comparison, not through sincerity. You'll feel like you're constantly auditioning for her approval, needing to prove your worth, your intelligence, your strength. But no matter how much you do, it never seems enough. Because for her, love isn't about harmony, it's about hierarchy. She measures closeness by control, not by connection. The competitive partner often has a deep fear of being inferior, of losing emotional power, of not being enough unless she's ahead. Somewhere in her past, she learned that love can be lost to someone better, and so she decided never to lose again. That's why she competes, not because she doesn't care, but because she's terrified of being outshined, outlawed, or outvalued. Her strength hides her insecurity, and her dominance hides her fear. She doesn't know how to surrender to love without feeling like she's giving up part of herself. So even when she loves you, she keeps her guard up, always slightly in control, always slightly distant, always measuring what she gives. Her affection has conditions. She'll give when she feels ahead, but withdraw when she feels small. You'll feel her warmth one moment and her coldness the next, depending on how secure she feels in her position. And the more you try to reassure her, the more she'll push to stay one step above, because reassurance doesn't calm her. It threatens her illusion of control. Being with a competitive partner feels like a constant emotional marathon. You can't relax. You can't just exist, because everything somehow becomes a reflection of who's winning and who's losing. You'll notice how she subtly compares your achievements, your choices, your emotions, not to understand them, but to measure herself against them. Even acts of love become transactional, as if she's silently keeping track of who gives more, who sacrifices more, who cares more. Instead of feeling like a team, you start to feel like opponents, playing a game that has no finish line. Over time, the relationship loses its softness. You stop sharing your victories because you know they'll trigger competition. You stop showing vulnerability because it'll be perceived as weakness. You start holding back parts of yourself just to keep the peace. And without realizing it, you become distant, not because the love is gone, but because constant competition leaves no room for connection. Love was never meant to be a scoreboard, but with a competitive partner, it becomes one. And in trying to win, she ends up losing the very closeness she was fighting so hard to protect. The woman who doesn't respect you is one of the most dangerous types to fall for, because disrespect rarely shows itself in obvious ways at first. It starts quietly, hidden beneath charm, affection, and the illusion of chemistry. She may admire your confidence, praise your efforts, and speak about partnership and loyalty. But as time goes on, small cracks begin to appear. A dismissive tone when you speak, a sarcastic comment that cuts a little too deep, a tendency to laugh at your opinions rather than listen to them. At first, you might ignore it, convincing yourself that everyone makes mistakes, that she didn't mean it that way, that maybe you're just overreacting. But slowly her words start to shape how you see yourself. You'll find that every time you stand up for yourself, she'll make you feel guilty for it. Every time you share something vulnerable, she'll use it later in a moment of anger. What begins as emotional warmth turns into a subtle erosion of your self-worth, piece by piece, disguised as teasing jokes or honesty. The woman who doesn't respect you doesn't argue to understand. She argues to dominate. She will interrupt you, belittle your perspective, or dismiss your feelings as overreactions. She'll say she's just being real, but what she's really doing is asserting control through disrespect. She'll make promises and break them without apology. And when you call her out, she'll shift the blame back onto you. She'll say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You take everything the wrong way," until you start questioning your own perception of what's happening. This is how disrespect hides, not through direct cruelty, but through constant invalidation that makes you doubt yourself. Over time, you'll find yourself walking on eggshells, carefully choosing your words just to avoid another argument. You'll start apologizing for wanting basic decency, mistaking fear of conflict for peace. And she'll continue to push boundaries, because each time you stay silent, you teach her that it's okay to cross them. What makes this kind of woman so difficult to walk away from is that her disrespect often comes mixed with affection. She'll be loving one day, distant the next, tender when she wants to pull you back in, and dismissive when she feels secure again. You'll spend days replaying her words, trying to figure out what changed, wondering if you did something wrong. But it's not about you. It's about the control she maintains through unpredictability. She disrespects not just your words, but your time, your effort, and your boundaries. You'll notice she cancels plans without caring how it affects you, takes your help for granted, or expects you to understand her moods, even when she never communicates them. Her needs will always come first, and yours will always be secondary. And the more you tolerate it, the more she'll test how far she can go before you finally break. Eventually, being with a woman who doesn't respect you feels like slowly disappearing inside a relationship that demands everything but gives nothing. Nang, in return, you'll notice that your energy shifts. You stop feeling excited to see her. You stop expressing yourself freely. You stop feeling safe emotionally. You'll shrink without realizing it, making yourself smaller just to avoid being criticized. She'll start to view your kindness as weakness, your patience as permission, your love as something she can manipulate instead of appreciate. And though she might claim she loves you, her actions will always speak otherwise. Because love without respect isn't love. It's control wearing the mask of connection. You'll find yourself emotionally exhausted, drained by constant power struggles, craving peace that never comes. And in the quiet moments when you finally sit with yourself, you'll realize that the woman who doesn't respect you never truly saw you. She only saw what she could get from you. And once she got it, she stopped valuing what you brought into her life. In the end, love isn't destroyed by the absence of attraction. It's destroyed by the presence of the wrong energy. Every woman you allow into your life carries an influence that either builds you or breaks you, strengthens you or drains you, heals you or confuses you. The emotionally unavailable woman teaches you patience but leaves you empty. The validation seeker makes you feel desired but never fulfilled. The manipulative one keeps you chasing a love that only exists when it benefits her. The victim-minded woman ties you to her pain until you forget your own peace. The competitive partner turns affection into a battlefield where connection can't survive. And the woman who doesn't respect you slowly erodes your self-worth while making you believe you're the problem. But the truth is, none of these women are meant to be hated. They are meant to be recognized because awareness is what saves you from repeating the same lesson in different forms. When wipe away our learn to walk away from the patterns that confuse your heart, you make space for the love that protects it. Real love doesn't demand that you shrink to fit it. It doesn't punish you for your honesty or make you prove your value. It flows with ease. It grows with trust. And it feels like peace instead of performance. The right woman will not drain your spirit trying to control it. She will honor it, nurture it, and match it with a love that feels safe, grounded, and